Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to our daily lighting critique. We'd like to welcome you, and this episode is being sponsored by my upstairs neighbor, the Lazy Hammerer. Is still at it again, so you will hear some lackluster tapping of a hammer in the background on occasion, so make sure you check out their channel and like and subscribe to whatever it is they're doing up there. Anyway, so we've got two animations to look at and a handful of still images. The first one that we're going to look at today is from Ashley. Ashley, I'm sorry I missed yours yesterday. I want to apologize to you. I actually had it I had an oral procedure and I was laying on my iPad and drawing these, and I actually had one. I just missed it in my drug-induced stupor there. So, so first up we have. I think it's looking good. I think I was looking at some, because we had some technical glitches of layering issues, and I think I'm not really seeing anything else like that, which is good. The couple things that I was noticing was that one was his screen right arm sometimes feels a little bit green, and I wonder if we can't warm that up a little bit. And I don't think it's a matter of really adjusting the shader. You might be able to just garbage mat that in the comp and just up the reds and the warmer hues. The other thing I was noticing too was that especially as he leans back and kind of towards the back end of the shot, there's that rim on the back of his head that I think works pretty well in here. But the problem is that when he leans back into it, there's some frames where it really gets bright back there. So I think we can probably just tone it down a little bit overall. Because I think while it's helpful in here, I think it would be just as helpful if it was toned down, 20% or so in intensity. The other thing that go ahead, somebody.
Oh, sorry. So you just have her tone it down throughout the whole shot.
Yeah.
Even if it was down back in the front. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get fancy with it, you could render it out as a separate pass and kind of animate that value a little bit. You could do that.
Yeah.
Or just isolate it to certain areas so that when he leans back, it doesn't quite hit him quite this much. And same, it's not just right there. It's more. It's back here too. It's pretty intense given how I love the little bit of light on the back wall, but it to be this much light on his head, that would be much brighter. So they don't quite sync up that way.
Okay.
But and then in terms of eyes, the eyes look a lot better. The one thing I was thinking for the eyes that I've done in the past that works out really well, just because there are points when they kind of look graphic and almost two-dimensional because they're kind of bright. I do a trick sometimes where I will do an edge detect of the area around the eye in the comp, and then isolate it to the eye itself, and then just darken it and warm it a little bit, so it just looks so it really functions as a drop shadow. So it kind of drops the eyeballs back into the head a little bit, and allows them to sit in a little bit more and have some variation around the edge. So I would give that a go. And I feel like everything else is good. Do you guys have any thoughts? Or Aaron, do you have any questions?
No. I know she's anxious to get rid because I think she's worried that this is going to take the character itself will take a long time because he's a lot of subsurface. So
yeah, I mean, if she finds because the only two notes on him that can't the arm thing I think could be addressed in the comp. The eyes can be addressed in the comp. If there isn't separate geometry for the eye, just run a matte pass and that'll be really quick. The rim on the back of his head, she might be able to tone that down in the comp, but she could give it a try first if render times are a concern.
Oh yeah, no, I think she'd rather do that in Maya itself. I know she's trying to address as much in Maya as she possibly can. So,
got it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I will let her know.
All right, great. Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So next up we have Kat. Hi, Kat.
It's Ruby. Hi. I just have a note for the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just the screen. Well, not the screen. The computer. The back of the computer. I feel like it's too or I don't know if it's my screen, but it's like just black, maybe like a little bit of reflection on the bottom or something for all the lights.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like maybe get some variation in here, or just something kind of to break it up a little bit. Like maybe the light's kind of spilling over and reflecting down there.
Mm-hmm.
That's good because that's actually a really easy one because this screen itself is static, and you can even just do one frame in Maya of just like a variation back here, and then you can kind of mix that in a little bit in the comp. That's a good call.
Okay.
All right, Kat. Cool. All right, so one thing that was addressed. Let me play this through first. So it's kind of like 3 sections of the animation.
Yeah, it's just a highlight reel.
It's the trailer for the shot. So one thing.
The trailer for the shot. Yeah, there you go.
So off camera, one of the things that we talked about was what's going on with her shoe in here, and how it's kind of like a moire patterning. This is a really great example of like what's happening is the shoe seems to be swimming through a 3D texture, a 3D shader or something. It's just not like attaching the shoe. The shoe is actually animating through the shader. The shader is animating, or something wacky is going on. And when you're in this situation, you run into the issue where you have 2 solutions, right? You can either track down the problem, build a new shader, like figure out what's going on with this specifically, and really kind of get after it and figure out what's going on. The other solution is just to replace it with something a little simpler. And in this case, it's the sole of the shoe, and I think it's a smarter decision to just address that with a simpler shader. Like I like the color. Just put that color on there and take away the bump or displacement or whatever is causing that look. So larger lesson in that is like to, instead of always thinking that we have to fix everything all of the time, there's situations where you're like, let's just simplify this a little bit in order to, because it's a non-uber essential thing. Unless it's like had to do with this character and like her grandmother handmade the sole of the shoe or something, you just change it and you move on.
It's a hero shoe.
It's a hero shoe. Yeah. Yeah, unless you're doing the Wizard of Oz and it's a specific ruby red slipper, in which case you can just update it. Okay. The other thing technically is that I know that you're doubling up the hair because there was some gaps in it. There are some points here where you can really tell it's doubled up. So I'm wondering if.
Actually, I kind of fixed that when I went and resampled it at 30 frames per second, and then I sampled it back at 24. It fixed itself.
Okay.
I doubled it just because there was still some gaps, but I might just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because what I did was I actually took the top of her head and in the mesh and went in and put the hair shader on the top of her head, so it's so obvious that there's gaps.
Yeah, I would the gaps over the double hair at this point, but. Yeah. But, I mean, the other thing that you can do is, like, if there are gaps, you just paint the scalp in that area black.
That's what I did.
Yeah, and then you don't see it as much. But,
yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, let's see. Okay, in terms of the other lighting, let's start with the background. I think the background's looking good. Again, if you can make those red lights, like the core of them, a little bit brighter, I think it looks a lot better. But I think we can go, like, 1 exposure level brighter just on the bulbs. Okay. Shaping, everything else back there feels pretty good. If there's any opportunity in the shader to add a little bit of like roughness or like bump or like break up the specularity on some of these areas, if possible, like the way that this and let me go back and like these are like perfectly clean. If you could break it up a little bit, that would be cool. If not, don't worry about it.
I can. I've noticed, because I'm running this at like 200 samples, I've noticed when I go to 500, you actually see more detail. There's detail on the shader. It just doesn't show up now.
Okay, that's fine. It might just be a low-res issue then. That's fine.
Yeah.
In terms of the lighting on her, let's look through each section. Okay, let's start with the robot first. I think this is looking good.
Yeah, I made him darker so he wasn't standing out much like as one of the earlier iterations of it.
This looks good. Like he really looks like it's exploding through his belly in here. Yeah, I think that's looking really nice. Okay, for her, the one, like she looks really good in sections 2 and 3. Like she's got good shaping in here. I think everything's working out really well. She looks good here. I think her hair could get a little bit more like brights in it, because in both this and the last shot, there's it's kind of muted at kind of a mid-tone, like getting some specular shimmer in there would be good. And then the only thing is this robot's headlamp in the first shot is making her
much.
Yeah, it's flattening her out too much.
Yep.
So,
I'll move it.
Yeah, it might be worth like just toning that down or just eliminating it on her. And like, I get that it's glowing out of the front of him, but if it makes her look bad, then it's not helping us.
Right.
Cool. All right, great. Yeah, but everything else is looking good.
Does your skin look good? Like, I think your skin looks good, but I just wanted to see what you think, because I think it looks.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it looks good. I think the only it's like there's lots of variation, and we're getting the rim and we're reading her form. It's like it's all working here, and then here it's looking well. Like I see the specularity in her arm and in her torso. I think that's all looking really well. It's just in this first shot again, she's getting flatly lit at the beginning, so it kind of takes away from that there. Yeah, great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Ruby, you are up first. Let's see. This is I'm blown away by the amount of improvement that you're making over the last 2 days. It's pretty incredible, especially because you're with family right now. You said, right? You're yeah. I don't know how you're doing it, but great job overall. I think the leaves are looking a lot better. You hit that note so quickly about getting the variation on the top versus the underside. I think this underside you might even be able to desaturate this just a little bit more. But I think it's right in that area of feeling right. These leaves are a little bit, I don't know if you can see it. These 3 in the foreground here are a little bit too bright. I think it might be the shader, so I would just darken the shader down a little bit. And then the area back behind, you've got these 3 that are coming down this way. Just if you can get more shadow back behind them. You've got some in here, and I think that's adding a lot of depth. Really, it's just this spot right here. I would just darken it with a little shadow back there to allow those 2 areas to kind of separate visually. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually part of the.
Oh, is that the plate?
Flare.
Yeah.
I put a light flare.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see.
To simulate the reference with the rainbowy color.
Got it.
Yeah, I can move it.
Yeah. I think it's because it's more like if this was that was just a little bit darker back there. You can see how it kind of just adds a little bit more depth to the space. All right. All right. In terms of the bird itself, I think the beak is looking really good. I still think we could probably reduce that bump down a little bit because, again, I was looking at some reference yesterday, and it really does feel like they feel very smooth on them. It feels like it's. I don't know. I don't have anything nearby to touch. That would simulate that, but it feels like almost like a very polished porcelain or something. But I think the coloring looks really good. I think the saturation points are good. I think his eye looks. I think it looks really great. The only area is, I think the black fur is looking good. The white fur, it now feels a little bit pink, almost.
Yeah, I think I went too far with the. Warming.
Yeah. It's again, and this is where this is really really difficult. Is just getting that to be in that right balance. Let's see. Yeah, it's just you can see. I mean, just these very very minor changes are making him it just changes so quickly. I think it might just be too saturated overall too. Let's see. Yeah, something more in that range, and then it might be, again, just because this is a still, there might be an opportunity to, like literally just, why is this not being? This is being funny. Alt, click. Anyway, there might be an opportunity to actually like clone stamp in some of the feathers around a little bit, just to kind of, you know, make them a little bit thicker, because they do kind of thin out at some patches. And I know that's not like, you know, it's not the most ideal solution. Actually, this looks pretty bad, but there's an opportunity for you there to kind of fill in those gaps a little bit, if you can. But other than that, yeah. Normally, I would say to add a little bit, if these are leaves in the render back here, like a little bit of shaping back there from the key. But I actually think in this particular instance, it's working out okay because it's providing like a flat background directly behind the character. So I think you made a smart choice there. But yeah, I think it's looking good. Does anybody else have any thoughts that are at the moment? Yeah. No, I think this looks great. All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks.
The hammering neighbor likes it for sure. All right, Abishek, you're yes. Hello, sir. We've got a really nice update here. So this is the previous version. This is the update. The detail on the chips looks a lot better. That certainly helps. I think that I like the way that the television screen itself is looking is a lot better. I think one of the things that we lost from the previous version was this kind of glowing of the TV on the wall. I'd like to reinstate that a little bit, while like the effect of the light in the room, I want to keep that the same while updating to like this look to the screen. Additionally, this light over here has been diminished a little bit because of that the fog that you've introduced. So if we could just get, basically it's like getting the bright points back while maintaining the fog overall back there. I think all of that's looking great. I think the two other areas that I would focus on the character would be, I would take out these highlights on his eye. Because again, I know that's a reflection of the overhead lamp, and I think that's smart that you put that in there. It's just their positioning on his eye feels a little bit distracting, and his pupil and iris are so small that we want to be able to pick those up a little bit. So I think it would just be cleaner of an image to just move those out. The other thing that I would do is the playing cards. I think there's a little bit of room for us to make them a little bit brighter. And I think that we could do that actually, maybe in the shader itself would be the easiest, to just like brighten them up a little bit. Just kind of in that realm in there. Not, that's maybe a little bit bright, but let's see. Just because they are, you know, a little bit important to the scene. You know, it doesn't really matter what his actual hands are, but the fact that he's playing poker with himself is kind of the gimmick of the shot. So I think we can make that I think we can make them just a little bit brighter so they read. That being said, we can also play around with the idea of like making those a little bit brighter, and also playing with the depth of field of this. Like maybe if our focus is on him, which is I think where it is, I think we could possibly put a little bit of this foreground out of focus. The way, because we've got some, it looks like there's some depth of field on the background. If not, let's add like a few pixel blur back there and a few pixel blur before him, just to see if that works. I think it might help it. I think it might look pretty cool, because like if we look at the reference, we can see like this stuff's out of focus and the background's out of focus. It really allows us to focus in on him. And same thing with this. It's a little bit of depth of field in there as well. But really, like I said, come together very, very quickly, and you're doing a really nice job with this. Justin is... oh, hey.
Mike,
Yes.
I think that might be very much difficult, but I don't know. I'm not able to control this depth of field very much, so I actually used the blur actually directly.
Okay. If I would, there's, let's see. There's a couple ways that you can do the depth of field. You can either do it in renderer. And you're using Arnold? There's a in the Arnold course. There's a section on the camera and adding depth of field in the renderer. There's also, if you want to do it in a comp, if you're using Nuke, I've got a lecture in the lighting and animated film course, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll show you how to do it.
Doing it in comp only. I'm doing it in comp only.
Okay. Yeah, I
But,
mean, you might have to
see if I can. I will see if I can make it in Maya only.
Yeah, if you know what, if it's too much of a technical issue, right now what we're looking for is just making sure that it's a valid, that it's going to look good. So even for right now, if in Photoshop you just want to like, you know, or like in the comp, just draw like a roto down here, and just like blur that by a few pixels, and just, you know, just to see if that's the kind of thing that we want to do. Just to mock it up so we can see, because like doing this already, I can see that and this is a little bit strong on the blur, I can see this is really helping us focus back here. So I think it'll work, but just for the purposes of mocking up, like you don't have to solve it technically right now. We can figure that out later, but just make sure that it's something that we want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I was thinking I should animate this camera.
Oh, yeah,
I
that'd
was
be
just
fun.
thinking it will be good.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly couldn't hurt, and like, you could add some subtle, because again, like you could just add like a little bit of smoke coming up here. You know, there's probably some 2D filters that you could find that would allow that, and like that would be kind of a cool like small animation, because it's nice when there's just like a little bit of animation in there. You know, you don't have to like animate the tentacles flying around or anything, or just like the television flickering or something going on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this tentacles to be a little bit animated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to animate tentacles, but if you do, go for it.
No, actually, I am having a rigger actually. It can.
They're not really set up to animate, so I would be, yeah. But if you can get it, like if you get a blend shape in there and make them kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, my wife is an rigger actually. She can help me with that.
Perfect setup. All right, cool. All right, let's hop over to Justin's. So we got 4.
Okay, bye, Mike.
Bye. Thanks so much. Yeah, no, thank you. It was a great submission. So Justin, this is looking really great. I think that, you know, similar to what we were talking about with cats, I think that we can make these overhead lights a little bit brighter in the bulb area here. They're kind of, so that they, like the base of them is a little bit brighter. That's you know, pretty not the best example. That's actually not bad there. Okay, so just glowing those up a little bit. Windows back there look good. We've got some darker elements. That's good. Yeah, specularity in her skin looks good. There's variation in her clothing. Good. Her face is being shaped up good. She gets a little, like, she looking good here. When she gets back in here, she might be getting a little bit, like her skin is losing some of this warmth that we're seeing here in it. And then especially when she bends down, we lose some of that. So just make sure that that's continuing throughout. And
I think her hair needs a little bit of speck or something too, like mine.
yeah.
It's kind of, especially in that shot where she's in the hero pose, the superhero landing.
Yeah.
You need that's really flat.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see if we can get some more shaping in her hair too. That's good.
Can you go back to the opening shot? That one?
Mm-hmm.
Go back. Not that one, the one before. Because it looks like something's weird with the perspective.
Wait, is it this one?
This one. Oh, is he doing? Are you doing depth of field or something on it? Because it looks a little wonky for some reason.
You know what it is? It's that there's a lot of depth of field in the foreground and none in the background.
Okay.
So I think
she
yeah.
looks like shorter than she should be.
I don't. Yeah, that's. And it might
It looks, it looks like it's a tilt shift lens almost. Like
Yeah.
it's making.
It's also funny that, like, let me look at the other animations. I guess it's where she is. I'm just saying it's odd to cut her off at the ankles, but I think that's fine. Yeah. So anytime that you kind of have to balance the foreground and background depth of field to get them to always be depth of fieldy at about the same rate. Like,
Okay.
foreground depth of field, I think generally it's about 2 or 3 times blurrier than what's behind in terms of like distances, but like having a lot and none can throw off our perspective on it a little bit.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. That just stood out to me. I'm like, she looks tiny.
No, that's fine. I'm gonna pull this up to because I just saw somebody else posted. Austin posted. Let's see. All right, so we got this nighttime reference. This is our challenge this month. Oh, very cool. Yeah, so this is a nice combination of the warmth and the cool. Warmth interior on the cabin, cooler outside. Austin, a few things that I would do. Yeah, I love the color selections. I think that's working out great. I just really want to soften the shadows from the windows onto the snow a little bit. Like looking at some of this reference, you can see that the lines are a little bit softer as they throw the light onto the snow itself. I don't know if it's noise, but there's almost like a sparkling effect happening in the snow, and I hope that stays at the higher resolution too. And then the other thing is I would put a little bit more emphasis on the moonlight in the background to create some more shaping on these mountains and a little bit on these trees too. Just brighten that a little bit just so there's a little bit more directionality to that. I don't think we want to mess with it being as bright as this coming out of the cabin, but I think a little bit more would be good. And then watch out for this bright specular highlight here because it doesn't quite match up to what we're seeing up here. It's actually brighter than the source. So just watch out for that. We might need to tone that down a little bit. And then I was mentioning this to somebody else, but this is like a classic CG problem, which is that when we're like building a house like this, like we don't think to put in walls and furniture and stuff. So what ends up happening is like you can kind of feel that this is a little bit of an empty structure. So what I would do is just add some primitives in there just to kind of break up the light a little bit, so it's not just like consistent light coming out the window. That there's a little more breakup to it. But this is a fantastic start. So really, really, really good job. And then, let's see. I was going to see if there's any like volumetric light or like light rays coming out. I don't think so. Maybe at some point we'll add a little bit of that to add a little bit of magical qualities to the light coming out of these windows. But I think it's looking really great out of the gate. So good job there.
I mean, if you wanted to experiment with like the volumetrics, like when I lived in Western Michigan, we could see the aurora borealis at night in the winter, and it was really cool.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it was awesome. So I mean, just maybe look that up, and if that's something that you're interested in pursuing, I mean, it can't hurt.
Listen,
maybe it can hurt, but I mean,
nobody's ever mad about aurora borealis being in some CG images. Those guys, I didn't know you got those in Michigan. That's cool.
I had no idea. It was like we were looking, and like it was like an every night occurrence in the winter when we hit all the snow. It was
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, we did not get that growing up in Ohio. That was not. It was just overcast all the time and snow.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, well, thanks guys so much for joining today. If you have any questions, post them up, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right, have a good rest of your Wednesday, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.